going to tie my version of Dave Whitlock's red Fox Squirrel Nymph, and I'm starting off with a size 12 nymph hook here in the vise, and the thread that I'm going to use is an 8/0 black, but first I'm going to add some additional weight, so I'm just going to take some wraps here of lead just to give it some more weight, and I'll trim off the ends and push them together and leave the lead towards the top third of the hook shank here. Then I'm going to take my thread, I'll just make my wraps in front, reach all the way back, and then take my wraps straight through, and I can trim off the excess thread here. Alright, for the tail, I like to use the Fox Squirrel tail, and when I take this off, I don't stack it, but I'll try to line up the tips best I can. And there's two different sides. There's a red side and then more of a black side. I typically like to use the darker kind of brindle color. And when I clip this off the tail, I'll take more than I'll use, and that's so when I start to even out the tips, I'm going to lose some of that volume. And so when I'm happy with the tips are aligned and I've got kind of the thickness that I want, I'll just measure that out against the hook shank and take about a hook shank length, or maybe a little bit less, worth of tail there. I'll tie that in and I'll clip the butt sections. The rib that I'm going to use for this is just a gold oval tinsel, and so I'll just take that as well, tie that in right behind the lead, and then I'll bring it up to about the midway point in the hook shank. The body, this is going to be an underbelly, red fox underbelly, and so this just pulls right off the hide, and that dubs real nicely. So I'll just make my dubbing noodle. When I get to the bottom, I'll put a little twist there so that it gives me that taper that I'm looking for. And then I'll take one more pinch. I also try to remove some of the guard hairs there. Alright. And then I can come back through and bring my rib up. Just nice even turns here. I'll bring it up to the top and tie that off. I'll trim the excess. And now you've got a couple of options. I tie this in a couple of different varieties here. One thing that I like to use as a substitute is I'll use a hare's mask for the front of this, which isn't the original. It uses all red fox. So I'm just gonna put some wax here on my thread, and then I'm going to take just a pinch of dubbing here. Take just a little bit more In this case, I try to get a lot of those guard fibers in, because when I pick this out, I want it to look really buggy. So I'll just take some wraps through, hold everything back, and then I can build a little head here. And then whip finish. And then trim the excess. Like I said, now I can just start to pick this out and get it as buggy as I want it to be. And the final touch then, just to drop the head cement. And that's it. Like I said, a couple of changes that I make don't really affect one way or the other, just materials that I like to use and substitutions I like to make. So that's again a Dave Whitlock pattern, and that's the red Fox Squirrel Nymph. Just a nice little generic nymph pattern.